Welcome back to the channel. These stories are meant for late nights, quiet rooms, and headphones on. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling me where you're listening from tonight. Now, let's begin the first story. I used to laugh at stories about haunted places. Not because I thought fear was silly, but because I believed terror needed a reason. A monster, a killer, something you could point at and say, that's the threat. But what happened to me didn't come with claws or a mask or footsteps in the dark. It came quietly, casually, hidden behind a door everyone uses without thinking. A public restroom. I know how ridiculous that sounds. Trust me, I've heard the jokes, but I also know what I saw. I know what followed me home, and I know that if you've ever felt watched while standing alone in a locked stall, you might want to listen closely. My name is Daniel Reeves. I work in logistics consulting, which means long drives, cheap hotels, and endless coffee. Last October, I was returning from a conference in another state. It was late. The highways had thinned to lonely strips of asphalt lined with trees that swallowed the headlights. My GPS signal kept dropping. The radio only caught static and faint talk shows from far-off towns. Around 9:40 p.m., the coffee I'd been abusing all day finally demanded attention. I needed a bathroom, badly. Just ahead, a faded sign flickered beside the road. Pine Ridge Travel Mart. Open 24 hours. The parking lot was cracked and uneven. Only one overhead light worked, buzzing faintly. A single car sat near the pumps. No other movement. Still, it was better than the side of the road. Inside, the store smelled of dust and old fryer oil. Shelves were half empty. A tired ceiling fan turned in slow circles. Behind the counter sat an older man with thinning hair and a plaid shirt that had seen better years. He stared at a small television showing a snowy image and a faint game show audio buried under static. "Restroom?" I asked. He didn't look up, just lifted one hand and pointed toward the back. I followed a narrow aisle past canned soup and expired snack cakes until I reached a door with a crooked plastic sign that read "Men." One screw held it in place. The restroom inside looked normal enough. Beige tiles, a long mirror, 2 sinks, 3 stalls along the left wall. One fluorescent tube buzzed overhead, flickering slightly. No windows, no ventilation sound, just a faint hum of electricity. I chose the last stall. It felt private, out of sight. The lock slid closed with a stiff metallic click. For a moment, everything was ordinary. Then I noticed the smell. Not the typical restroom odor, something sharper, metallic, like pennies rubbed between fingers, like blood drying on concrete. I paused. Then I heard it. A soft tapping. Tap, tap, tap. It wasn't loud, it wasn't violent, it was delicate, fingernails against porcelain, coming from the stall beside mine. I froze. I hadn't seen anyone enter. I was sure I was alone. I leaned forward and glanced under the divider. No shoes, no feet, no shadow. Just empty tile. But the tapping continued, steady, patient. Tap, tap, tap. Then it stopped. Silence returned so fast it made my ears ring. I finished quickly, washed my hands, and glanced at the mirror. My reflection looked pale, but that was just nerves. I told myself I was tired, overtired, imagination playing tricks. Then I noticed something else. There were 4 stalls. I blinked. When I entered, there were 3. I remembered clearly choosing the far stall, but now, to the left of the first stall, a 4th stood squeezed against the wall. Its door was different, dark wood instead of chipped beige metal, smooth, polished, new. It didn't belong in that room. A quiet thought slipped into my mind. Don't open it. I should have listened, but curiosity has always been my worst habit. I stepped closer. The fluorescent light above that stall buzzed louder, stuttering like it was struggling to stay alive. Before I touched the door, it moved, slowly, on its own. Creak. It opened inward, revealing darkness inside. Not shadow, not lack of light. Darkness so thick it seemed solid. "Hello?" I whispered, feeling ridiculous. No answer, just silence so complete it swallowed the hum of the fluorescent bulb. Then a low groan echoed behind me. I spun around. Nothing. When I turned back, the wooden stall door had closed again, tight, seamless, no handle on the outside. I reached for it. My fingers brushed the wood. Ice cold. Not just cold, unnaturally cold, like touching metal left in a freezer. The light overhead flickered once, twice, then died. Total darkness. Panic bloomed in my chest. I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight. The room looked wrong. The mirror was cracked, hairline fractures running like spider webs. The tiles were damp, darker than before, streaked with mold. The metallic smell was stronger now, thick, wet, rotten. Worst of all, the entrance door was gone. In its place stood a tiled wall, seamless, solid, like no doorway had ever existed. My breathing quickened. "This isn't real," I muttered. "This isn't real." Then I saw movement. The wooden stall stood open again. Inside, something crouched on the toilet seat. A silhouette, too tall, too thin, limbs bent wrong, fingers resting over its face as it rocked gently like it was grieving. I backed away, bumping into the sink. The mirror cracked further with a quiet tinkling sound. Then the figure slowly tilted its head toward me. It didn't remove its hands, but I felt its gaze anyway, heavy, hungry, aware. Every instinct screamed at me to run. I turned toward the wall where the door had been and started pounding, shouting, screaming for help. Then, without warning, the fluorescent light snapped back on. The mirror was whole again. The tiles were dry. The metallic smell faded. The door was back exactly where it belonged. I stood there breathing hard, drenched in sweat, heart hammering like I'd sprinted miles. I glanced back. 3 stalls. No wooden stall. No 4th stall. No figure. I burst out of the restroom fast. I nearly collided with the clerk. He looked up this time, really looked. "You all right?" he asked. My voice shook. "That bathroom, there was... How many stalls are in there?" He frowned. 3. Always been 3. I swallowed. "Has anything ever happened here?" He studied me quietly, not confused, not skeptical, just tired. Finally, he said, "Years ago, a boy disappeared in there. His family stopped for gas. He went to use the restroom, never came out. Search teams tore that place apart, even broke into the walls, found nothing but solid stone behind them." I felt cold all over. "What about a 4th stall?" I asked. His eyes flickered, just once. "There's never been a 4th stall," he said. I left without another word. Outside, the night air felt sharp and clean compared to that restroom. I sat in my car with the doors locked, hands gripping the steering wheel. That's when my phone buzzed. A notification. Voice recording saved. Bathroom audio 01. I hadn't opened the recorder. I pressed play. At first, there was static. Then my own voice. "Hello?" Then another voice. Not the clerk's, not mine. Low, rough, too close to the microphone. "You saw the door." I dropped the phone. I don't remember driving away, only that at some point the highway stretched ahead of me again, and Pine Ridge Travel Mart vanished behind dark trees. I told myself I'd forget it, laugh about it later, chalk it up to exhaustion and imagination. I didn't know then that opening that stall door wasn't just curiosity, It was an invitation, and something, somewhere, had noticed me. I told myself I wouldn't think about Pine Ridge again. For the next few days, I managed to believe that lie. I checked into a motel off the highway, slept for 12 hours straight, and finished my drive home the following afternoon. By the time I reached my apartment in Brookvale City, the memory of that restroom already felt unreal, like something I dreamed after too much coffee and too little sleep. But trauma doesn't fade that easily. It waits, quietly, patiently, like something behind a locked stall door. The first sign that it hadn't ended came 3 nights later. I was brushing my teeth before bed when I noticed the bathroom light flicker. Just once, a tiny dip in brightness. Probably bad wiring, my building was old. I rinsed my mouth, turned off the top, and that's when I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Soft, delicate, coming from behind the shower curtain. I froze, toothbrush still in my mouth. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was identical to what I'd heard in the Travel Mart restroom, fingernails against porcelain. I swallowed hard, slowly pulled the toothbrush out, and reached for the curtain. Nothing. Just my empty shower, my towel, my shampoo bottles lined neatly on the rack. I laughed shakily at myself and went to bed. That night, my phone buzzed at exactly 3:03 a.m. Voice recording saved. I sat up, heart racing, and pressed play. Static. My breathing. Then that same voice, closer now, familiar in a way that my skin crawled. You left the door open. I didn't sleep after that. Over the next week, strange things started happening, small things at first. The bathroom door in my apartment would be open when I knew I had shut it. My reflection in the mirror would lag half a second behind my movements. My sink would drip even after I tightened the tap. Always 3 drips in a row. Drip, drip, drip. I started avoiding the bathroom. I brushed my teeth in the kitchen sink, showered at the gym, pretended everything was normal. Until the night I woke up and heard a stall door. Not a house door, not a cabinet. A thin, hollow metal door swinging on cheap hinges. Creak from inside my apartment. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and followed the sound down the hallway. The bathroom light was off, but a faint glow pulsed under the door, a sickly yellow, flickering. I knew I should run, call someone, do anything but open that door. But something deeper pulled at me, the same curiosity that had made me open the 4th stall. I placed my hand on the knob. It was ice cold. The moment I twisted it open, the smell hit me. Metallic, rust, blood. My bathroom was gone. In its place stood the same public restroom from Pine Ridge. Beige tiles, long mirror, 3 stalls, fluorescent light buzzing overhead. And at the far left wall, a 4th stall. Dark wooden door, slightly open, waiting. I stumbled back, but the door behind me had vanished. Just tile, solid and seamless. My phone buzzed again. Another recording had started. I didn't press anything. From the stall came a sound I hadn't heard before. Breathing. Slow, wet, too deep for human lungs. Then the tapping. Tap, tap, tap. I wanted to scream, but my voice wouldn't come. The stall door opened on its own. Inside stood the figure. Taller this time, its limbs bending wrong, its head scraping the top of the stall frame, hands hanging too low, fingers brushing the floor. Its face still hidden behind its palms. But I didn't need to see its face to know it was smiling. You came back, the voice said, not from its mouth, from everywhere, from the walls, the mirror, inside my skull. I didn't mean to open it, I whispered. Its head tilted. Everyone opens it eventually. The mirror began to fog again. Words formed across the glass. The door needs a keeper. I backed away, but the tile floor beneath me rippled like water. The fluorescent light flickered violently. The room stretched, bending inward, warping. The wooden stall door swung wider. Inside, there was no toilet now, only a staircase descending into darkness. From below came voices, dozens, maybe hundreds, all whispering at once, overlapping, pleading. Help me. I'm still here. Don't leave me. Close it. I recognized one of the voices. The boy, the missing child. His whisper rose above the others. If it stays open, it comes through. A shape moved on the stairs, something climbing, slowly, methodically, each step accompanied by a wet click, like bone against tile. The figure in the stall stepped aside, inviting me closer. Your name is already written, it said. The wall beside the mirror shifted, letters carved into the tile, hundreds of names, all crossed out, all except one. Daniel Reeves. My name, fresh, raw, bleeding into the tile. My knees buckled. I'm not staying here, I said. I'm not like you. The figure twitched. You opened the door, it replied. You were chosen. The whispering from the staircase grew louder, more desperate. Close it, the boy's voice begged, before it reaches the top. The shape on the stairs climbed faster now, its breathing ragged, hungry. I didn't think. I ran at the stall, grabbed the wooden door, and tried to slam it shut. A hand shot out from inside, blackened, too many joints, fingers wrapped around the doorframe like hooks. It pulled. I pushed. The entire restroom shook, tiles cracked, mirrors shattered, the fluorescent light exploded, showering sparks. My phone fell from my hand, still recording. The voice roared now. The door must stay open. I screamed and shoved with everything I had. The door slammed. A shockwave blasted through the room. The whispering stopped. The breathing from below vanished. Silence swallowed everything. The tiles crumbled under my feet. I fell and landed hard on concrete. Sunlight blinded me. I was lying outside, in the Pine Ridge Travel Mart parking lot. My car parked beside me. The buzzing light overhead, the quiet highway, the same lonely night. The store door opened behind me. The clerk stepped out, cigarette in hand. You okay, son? He asked. I stared at him, shaking. The restroom, I gasped. The stall. He frowned. The bathroom's been closed for years. I turned. The restroom door was gone. Just a brick wall, solid, old, like it never been a door at all. I laughed without speaking another word. I drove until dawn, until Pine Ridge was nothing but a memory. That was 6 months ago. I changed cities, changed jobs, moved into a small apartment with no shared walls, no neighbors, no mirrors in the bathroom, just a metal sink and a bare bulb. I don't use public restrooms anymore. I don't even like closed doors. But some nights, at exactly 3:03 a.m., my phone buzzes. Voice recording saved. I don't open them anymore. I already know what they say. You closed the door. Now you carry it. And last night, when I passed my bathroom, I noticed something new. A faint outline in the wall, rectangular shaped, slightly darker than the rest of the paint. A door, waiting. I never believed in cursed places. Old buildings make noises, shadows stretch, memories stick to walls, that's all. I used to tell myself fear was just the brain filling in blanks, a survival instinct misfiring in modern life. That changed the night I took the night security job at Greymark Tower. Greymark used to be the pride of downtown, 30 floors of glass and steel, corporate offices, bright lights, busy elevators. But 5 years ago, something happened on the 23rd floor. A fire. Official cause, electrical fault. Unofficial rumors, something else. After that, tenants slowly left. Businesses moved out. The building emptied like a body losing blood. By the time I was hired, only the lower 10 floors were in use. Storage companies, record archives, one small accounting office that refused to move. Everything above floor 10 sat dark and abandoned. The security company didn't ask many questions. They paid well. I needed money, so I took the job. My shift ran from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Sit at the lobby desk, watch cameras, do hourly patrols, check doors, report anything unusual. On my first night, the supervisor, a tired man named Collins, handed me a ring of keys and a small flashlight. "Don't go above floor 10, he said. I laughed. Why? Ghosts? He didn't smile. Elevators don't run past 10. Stairs are locked. No reason to go up there. What if something happens up there? He looked at me for a long moment. Then it's already too late. He left before I could ask what that meant. The first few nights were boring, dead quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. Occasionally a rat in the walls. Occasionally the old pipes clanking. Nothing unusual. Until the fourth night. At 2:17 a.m., one of the elevator call buttons lit up on the lobby panel. Floor 23. I frowned. The elevators were programmed not to respond to calls above 10. Yet there it was. A soft orange glow around the number. I tapped the button. Nothing happened. No elevator arrived, no chime, just the light, steady and patient. I checked the security cameras. The feed for the 23rd floor still worked, though the lights were usually off because the lights were up there. Now I saw something else. A hallway. Long, dim, emergency lights glowing red. And at the end of the hallway, someone stood facing the camera. A woman. Still, unmoving. Her hair hung forward, covering her face. She wore a business suit, charred at the edges, like fabric burned and never replaced. I leaned closer to the monitor. The feed glitched. Lines of static cut through the image. When it stabilized again, the hallway was empty. I checked the time. 2:18 a.m. I told myself it was an old looped video, or a glitch, or my tired brain playing tricks. Still, I wrote it in the log. 02:17. Floor 23 call button illuminated. CCTV feed showed brief image of possible person on 23, investigating tomorrow. At 3 a.m., I heard footsteps. Not on my floor, above me. Slow, heavy, echoing through the ceiling. I muted the TV and listened. Step, drag, step, drag. Always the same rhythm. I walked to the lobby elevator doors and placed my palm against the metal. It vibrated slightly. Something was moving inside the shaft, going up. I backed away. By morning, I had convinced myself lack of sleep was getting to me, until I checked the logbook left by the guard before me. 3 pages back, written in neat handwriting. 02:17. Floor 23 call button lit again. The next page. Footsteps in shaft. Recommend inspection. Then nothing else. Blank pages after that. The handwriting stopped mid-week.
I asked Collins about the previous guard. He stared at me like I'd asked about a dead relative.
He quit, Collins said.
Just quit? Just quit. He changed the subject after that. On the 7th night, things escalated. At 1:59 p.m., all the lights in the building flickered once, a blink, then back to normal. At 2 a.m. exactly, every elevator call button above floor 10 lit up. 11, 12, 13, all the way to 30. A tower of glowing numbers in the quiet lobby. Then the security radio on my desk turned on by itself. A voice came through, distorted, hollow. Going up? I unplugged the radio. The voice continued. Going up? I backed away from the desk, my heart hammered in my chest. Every instinct screamed to leave, to walk out the front door and never come back. But I needed the job. I needed the money. And I told myself fear was still just imagination. I grabbed the flashlight and the master keyring. If something was happening, I needed proof. Something real, something solid. I decided to check the stairwell. The stair door behind the elevators led to all floors. Collins had said the upper floors were locked, but I wanted to see for myself. The stairwell smelled like dust and old paint. My footsteps echoed as I climbed past floor 10. At the door to floor 11, the handle turned easily. Unlocked. I frowned, stepped through. The hallway behind was dark, lit only by emergency lights. Abandoned offices, chairs stacked, old papers scattered like fallen leaves. Nothing moved. I climbed higher. Floor 12, 13, 14. Each door unlocked, each hallway empty, silent, waiting. By the time I reached floor 22, my legs were shaking. Not from climbing, from the feeling that something was watching me behind every door. The door to floor 23 stood slightly open, a thin sliver of darkness inside. Cold air seeped out, brushing my face. I should have turned around. I didn't. I pushed the door open. The hallway stretched long and straight, emergency lights glowing red. The same hallway from the camera feed. At the far end, by the elevator doors, stood a woman, still, silent, facing me. Her business suit hung off her frame, charred at the edges, blackened fingertips, hair covering her face. I took a step back. The stair door slammed shut behind me. The temperature dropped instantly. My breath fogged in front of me. I raised the flashlight. Its beam flickered, struggled, then died. Darkness. Then a voice. Not loud, not angry, just tired. "You're late." I couldn't move. My body locked in place. The emergency lights flickered once. The woman stood closer now. No sound of footsteps, just closer. "Your shift started at 9. She voice was layered, like many voices speaking at once. Men, women, children, all whispering through her. I forced my mouth to work. "I don't belong here." She tilted her head. "Yes," she said softly. "You do." Something brushed my ankle. Hands. Dozens of them, cold, gripping, pulling. From beneath the floor, from inside the walls. I stumbled forward, trying to shake them off. The woman raised her hand. In her hand lay a small object, a plastic Kai card, blackened by fire. The name printed on it was burned away. Only the company logo remained. Graymark Tower. "Everyone who stays takes their turn." The emergency lights went out. Total darkness. Hands pulled me down. Voices whispered in my ears. "Going up?" And then I woke up in the lobby. Morning sunlight poured through the glass doors. The city outside moved like normal life. Cars, people, noise. I lay on the cold tile floor, my flashlight beside me, my radio silent. My watch read 6 a.m. Shift over. On the desk beside the logbook sat a blackened Kai card, and on my wrist, a faint red burn mark shaped like a hand. I wish I could tell you I quit that morning and never went back. But fear doesn't always make you run. Sometimes it makes you doubt yourself. When I woke on the lobby floor, sunlight pouring through the glass doors, I convinced myself I had passed out from exhaustion. Maybe I dreamed the stairwell. Maybe the woman on floor 23 never existed. Maybe the burn mark on my wrist came from brushing a hot pipe earlier in the week. Except there was the keycard, blackened, melted at the edges, sitting neatly on the desk beside the logbook. I picked it up with 2 fingers. It was warm, not room temperature. Warm, like it had been in someone's hand moments before. I left it there. I clocked out. I walked home in daylight, telling myself I'd sleep, wake up, and laugh at how stupid I'd been. But sleep never came. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that hallway, red emergency lights, charred carpet, a woman with no face. By evening, I decided I'd quit. No 2 weeks notice, no explanation, just quit. I walked back to Greemark Tower just before my shift. I planned to hand Collins the keys and walk out. He was waiting in the lobby when I arrived. "I knew you'd come back," he said. I stared at him. "I'm quitting." He nodded slowly, like he'd heard the line before. "You can try." I held out the keys. "I'm serious, I'm done." He didn't take them. Instead, he pointed at my wrist. The burn mark had darkened. The outline of fingers was clearer now, like bruises blooming under skin. "You went upstairs," he said, quietly. I swallowed. "I want nothing to do with this building anymore." He sighed, rubbing tired eyes. Everyone says that after their first night on 23. I stared at him. "What is that place?" Collins walked to the security desk and opened a drawer. He pulled out a folder thick with yellowed papers and photos. He laid them out in front of me. Newspaper clippings. 5 years ago, a fire on floor 23. 12 employees trapped, smoke inhalation, no survivors. Doors jammed, emergency systems failed, windows sealed shut. One photo showed the hallway I'd seen, the same long corridor, black scorch marks along the ceiling, melted elevator doors. Another photo showed a woman being wheeled out in a body bag. The tag on her wrist had a name, Irene Walsh, accounting manager. The woman in the hallway. Collins topped the photo. She was the last one to call for help, over and over, but the lines were dead. Elevators stopped responding. Stair doors wouldn't open. They burned. He slid another document forward. A lawsuit. Families suing the building owners. Claims of faulty safety systems, corruption, bribes, inspections skipped, reports buried. They never got justice, Collins said. Greymark paid settlements, changed the name, reopened lower floors, pretended it never happened. My mouth was dry. And the upper floors? Condemned. No business, no tenants, no purpose. I looked at the elevator panel. Floor 23 button sat unlit, innocent, normal. So the hell, why does it still call? I whispered. Collins closed the folder. Because they're still working, he said. I frowned. What? They died at their desks, on shift. The building never let them clock out. A laugh escaped me, thin and disbelieving. That's insane. So is seeing a burned woman in a hallway. Yet here we are. I looked again at the burn mark on my wrist. A memory surfaced. Her words. Your shift started at 9. I felt cold. I'm leaving, I said again. Right now. Collins nodded slowly. You can walk out that door, but I've seen this play out before. He leaned forward. Once you step onto their floor, they mark you. They expect you to finish the shift. And if I don't? He hesitated. They come for you. I should have laughed, should have told him he was insane, should have walked away. Instead, I said, what do I have to do? Collins exhaled like a man who'd been holding breath for years. You go back up there tonight. You stay until they let you go. I'm not doing that. You already did. You just don't remember all of it yet. Before I could respond, every light in the building flickered once. Twice. Then stabilized. The elevator panel chimed softly. Floor 23 call button lit. My heart sank. "I'll stay in the control room. If you make it back before 6, you're free. If not..." He didn't finish. He just handed me the flashlight and keys again. My legs carried me to the stairwell before my brain caught up. Fear, disbelief, anger, it all blurred into one numb determination. I climbed, past floor 10, 11, 12. Every hallway dark, empty, watching. By the time I reached floor 22, the air was colder. The walls felt damp. My breath fogged. The door to floor 23 stood wide open. No resistance this time. No slamming behind me. Just invitation. I stepped through. The hallway looked exactly the same. Red emergency lights, black scorch marks, a faint smell of smoke. But now office cubicles aligned the corridor. Desks, chairs, computers, papers burned at the edges. Figures sat in the chairs. Men, women, heads bowed, bodies charred, fingers still resting on keyboards. None of them moved. A printer at the far end spat paper with a faint mechanical wheeze. I walked closer. On each printed page was the same line, "Shift incomplete." A soft sound drew my attention. Crying from inside one cubicle. I approached slowly. The woman from the hallway sat there, Irene Walsh. Her hair burned away at places, skin crocked like charcoal, but her eyes were clear, human. "You're late," she said again. I swallowed hard. "I don't work here." She looked around at the others. They said that too. The crying grew louder, from behind me, from beside me, from every cubicle. Ghostly figures flickered into view, people clutching phones that didn't work, people pounding on doors that wouldn't open, people screaming with no sound. Fire rolled across the ceiling, smoke poured down. I stumbled back. Hands closed around my wrists, my ankles, my shoulders. Not pulling down this time, guiding, pushing me toward an empty chair. "Sit," Irene said. I shook my head violently. "No, I'm leaving." The hands tightened. My legs moved without my permission. I was placed in the chair, my hands guided onto the keyboard. The monitor flickered to life. A single task appeared. Complete the shift. The keyboard grew hot under my fingers, keys pressed down by unseen hands. A timer appeared. 059, 58, 57, counting down to 6 in the morning. "You just have to stay," Irene whispered. "Like we did." Images flooded my mind. Their final moments. Panic, fear, betrayal. The realization they had been left to die so executives could save money. Tears ran down Irene's burned cheeks. "They never let us leave," she said, "so we don't let anyone else leave either." I felt something coil inside my chest. Not fear, rage, sadness, a drowning grief that didn't belong to me. The timer continued. 0300, 0200. The heat rose. Smoke curled around the ceiling. The others began to scream silently. I knew then that if I stayed until 0, I'd become one of them. Another figure in a chair. Another unfinished shift. I forced my hands off the keyboard. Skin tore. Blood dripped onto the keys. The hands holding me shrieked like wind through metal. I stood. Every step forward felt like walking through deep water. I ran, past cubicles, past burned desks, past grasping hands reaching from walls. The stairwell door waited at the end of the hall. I threw myself at it. It opened. I tumbled down the stairs, skipping steps, falling, catching myself, running until my lungs burned. I burst into the lobby at 5:59 a.m. Colin stood there, pale as paper. The lights returned to normal. The elevator panel went dark. Silence. I checked my watch. 6 a.m. Shift over. Collins handed me my jacket without a word. I didn't speak. I didn't look back. I walked out of Greymark Tower and kept walking until the city swallowed it behind me. I moved apartments that week, changed jobs, changed my number. But sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I feel heat under my palms. I hear keys clicking. I smell smoke. And when I dream, I'm back in that chair, watching the timer tick down. 059, 58, 57. Because once you've worked the shift on floor 23, a part of you never really leaves. If you ever take a job in a half-abandoned building, if someone tells you not to go to a certain floor, listen to them. Some workplaces don't just take your time, they take your soul.